Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. We are continuing our coverage today on the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. And what we're looking at today is ongoing fighting that is taking place near Sokoto. It would appear that there is a fairly new and ongoing operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces that at this point could be looking to retake control of Sokoto. Now, why is the TDF at the same time looking to continue its operation into seizing Western Tigray, and then at the same time, quite possibly looking at this operation or continuing an operation to take control of the town of Sokoto? Well, it's all about pressure. Right now, the Amhara regional militias continue to mobilize and at times are acting very much independently from the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, or the Abiy loyalist formations, headquartered and operating out of Addis Ababa and other parts of the country. But right now, the focus of the TDF could be to retake control of Sokoto, thereby pressuring the Amhara region, and especially those Amhara regional forces that are operating in Western Tigray as well. Another possible operation could be a renewed drive to retake Lalibela, and more importantly, the Air Force Base, the air base that is located to the southwest of Lalibela, which could stage drone and fixed wing airstrikes from that air base into the southern Tigray region. Again, we're hearing mixed messaging from the Abiy loyalist government. On one hand, the Prosperity Party and Abiy Ahmed is claiming that there will be no more all-out invasions of Tigray. Excuse me. Then on the other hand, we hear senior generals within the Abiy loyalist formations talking about and strategizing a renewed invasion of the Tigray region. At this point, we at MFAM does not believe that the Ethiopian National Defense Forces has the wherewithal to launch a renewed all-out invasion of the Tigray region. And in fact, it is very much struggling in its operations against the Oromo Liberation Army. So again, a lot of the combat power of the B loyalist formations are really focused, as I talked about in previous videos, the ongoing struggle between itself and the Oromo Liberation Army. Again, vast areas of the Oromia region are under the control of the OLA, the Oromo Liberation Army, and continue to exert tremendous amounts of military pressure on the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, especially in the western Oromia area of operations. The main issue right now for the Tigrayan Defense Forces comes in the form of these Amhara regional militias. Again, at times they are operating independently with no unity of command, within its own organization, and within the total what they see as the allied force that is fighting the Tigrayan Defense Forces. That's under the command of the B loyalist formations, the ENDF, and the Eritrean Army. But again, right now we are seeing a what we believe is a limited offensive operation, quite possibly to seize the town of Sokoto, and quite possibly threaten Lalibela again. And again, we believe that is part of a more grander strategy to cause forces to leave Western Tigray, where Western Tigray can once again be placed under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces and the Tigray region. Ultimately, the biggest struggle. The biggest challenge for the Tigrayan Defense Forces in retaking Western Tigray is going to be evicting the Eritrean army from Humera. Again, this area approaching Humera is very flat, and we understand there are a number of Eritrean army units in Humera with assets such as main battle tanks and other assets that operate very good in some of this flat terrain approaching Humera. So again, the idea that the TDF would be advancing along this very flat terrain under almost continued artillery and quite possibly dug-in tank attack coming from Humera and outside of Humera would be a significant challenge for the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Another possible strategy would be an actual operation into Eritrea, coming from both the Sudanese side of the border, crossing over the Takazi River, and cutting off Humera from the north, west, and east, basically besieging Humera. And it would take an actual limited operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces into the despotic state of Eritrea. And I would say I would not completely rule that sort of strategy out as a direct frontal assault on Humera by the Tigrayan Defense Forces would be very, very costly. At this point, and the only other way to really put pressure on Humera would be for the TDF to completely besiege Humera, and again, that would take crossing the Takazi River and then cutting off Humera from the north and ending its ability to be resupplied from the Eritrean army and its supply, and then obviously cutting off Humera from the south from being resupplied from the Amhara region as well. And that would be a bit more easier considering that there are Tigrayan Defense Force assets operating on the other side of the border of the Tigray Sudanese border. But again, we believe at this point the operation we're seeing northeast of Sakota is part of a more grandiose operation, again focusing on the movement of forces into western Tigray and to continue to provide pressure against the Amhara regional militias that are also operating in the western Tigray. Again, we are continuing to see the Abiy loyalist formations being incredibly pressured by the Oromo Liberation Army in western Oromia region. Again, we don't hear much in the mainstream media about the fighting that is going on in the Oromia region. We can tell you we have at MFAN have received intelligence in the form of video documentation about the ongoing fighting that has occurred, and we can tell you that it is a vicious fight, and the security apparatus of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the federal police, the army itself is under incredible pressure by the Oromo Liberation Army, especially in western Oromia region. And again, very, very tenuous, and that is why we are not seeing the same sort of deployments in the prospects of a offensive operation by the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, by the Abiy loyalist formations into southern Tigray, because a lot of these forces are now focused on stability operations in western Oromia. And again, the situation for the ENDF is incredibly precarious right now. There are large segments of the Oromia region that are in utter rebellion and are actively opposing the Prosperity Party and the Abiy Ahmed regime. And vast areas, as you can see from my map here, that are under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. Again, the areas in yellow are the areas that the Oromo Liberation Army actively control. And as you can see, there are dozens of small and medium towns and vast territories of land that are firmly under the control of the Oromo Liberation Army. In fact, we're seeing recruiting depots and training areas popping up in some of these smaller towns in which the Oromo flag is raised, the flag of the Oromo Liberation Army is present, and active training is underway by the Oromo Liberation Army in many of these towns and areas. So again, definitely a significant struggle for the Abiy loyalist forces that are fighting the Oromo Liberation Army. We're starting to see an uptick, as we had talked about before, in the use of fixed-wing assets, both in the form of drones and strike aircraft being used against the Oromo Liberation Army in these towns in the western Oromia region. And because of the press blackout that takes place within the Abiy regime, we were unable to really kind of get continued media updates and truthful media reporting in terms of what is actually happening in the former state of Ethiopia, especially the Oromia region. It is a brutal and vicious civil war that is taking place in Western Oromia, and again, in some cases, in southeastern Oromia as well. But again, the war continues, and it is much more intense than what is being reported, and obviously it's not really being reported in terms of what is happening in the Oromia region because of that news blackout. But again, we're continuing to cover what is going on in both Oromia and in the Tigray region, the western Tigray region, and obviously the fighting that now is taking place with this renewed operation by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, quite possibly focused on retaking Sokoto and pressuring towards Lalibela as well. But again, we're going to continue to keep our eye on the ball and give you, the viewer, more information as we get it. So please stay tuned, and we're working on some additional information that we are receiving. So more reports will be coming in soon. Have a great day, everybody.